So we will open up with the call to order. Can we get a roll call, please? Or go around the room. All right, I forgot about that. So Jeff Sims, obviously here, EPC.
Jay Collins, Planning Commission staff.
Bob Campbell, Hillsborough County Public Works.
Lemon Cassie, Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department.
This is Brett McPhail with Hart.
Sierra LaForte with Hillsborough County Aviation Authority.
John Scott,
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. Elizabeth Watkins, TPS staff and TAC liaison.
Okay, do we have anybody? Well, I'll go ahead and Mike Williams is here also. And then do we have anybody online? That's a member.
Frank Kokodower, Plant City.
Hi, Laura Lynn Hart, Port Tampa Bay.
I also see Anna from the.
Hi, yeah, sorry, it took me a second to come off mute.
And there's a form.
Okay, awesome. Very good. So next up would be public comments. Do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak today? Does not appear to be anybody in person. We'll take them online if they are already, but I didn't see anyone online. Going once, going twice. Okay, next up is the approval of the minutes from August 4th. Do you have any questions, comments, blocking?
Can we check the spelling of the name? I'm in the agenda to spell.
Yep, where is it?
I believe it should be.
Where is it? That's a deal. Thank you. No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Anyone else?
Good, sorry. Can we also just adjust the spelling of that? Maybe as well?
Sure. L-E-P-O-R-E?
Yes.
Can you make a note that her name tag used to be?
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Soccer.
I didn't catch that. Like, I'm here until you said that. Thank you.
Here we go. The mic. All right. Hearing no other comments or questions, can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
Jay Collins, motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. Thank you. Second.
Second.
Campbell, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. So first up is the 2025 roll forward tip amendments and our very own Elizabeth Watkins.
Good afternoon, TAC. Elizabeth Watkins. I'm here today to present to you the annual roll forward amendment to our transportation improvement program. So for some of you old timers, this probably sounds familiar. This is an annual amendment that we process to the TIP to essentially align FDOT's work program with the Transportation Improvement Program. Typically, these two documents are essentially one and the same, but between spring and October, they diverge, just given their different development processes. So FDOT sent us the work program as of March, that the board took action on June, but then the work program wasn't finalized until after the legislature and the governor signed it. So there are many things that changed between March and October 1, and the purpose of this amendment is to bring those documents in lockstep with each other. So there are 39 projects in this package, and I will not read off 39 projects to you for the interest of time and everything, but I will call out some highlights. So the highest proportion of projects of the roughly 40 or 11 are for transit. And that is largely because of the way federal transportation funds are distributed. On the highway side, they all go through DOT, and on the transit side, they of course all go through HART. But because FDOT is in charge of their work program, sometimes we see a little bit of maybe delay for the transit project. So nothing alarming about that, just again, given how the funding and the work programs are structured, that's typically why we see more transit projects in this amendment package. There are 8 resurfacing projects, 6 safety, 4 widenings, 2 signal projects, 3 planning studies, and then 5 various. There's an airport project, there is a new aggregate facility. So there are a few projects that don't fit neatly within one of the project categories. You all know the definitions of what preliminary engineering is, what construction is, but for the purposes of this presentation, when I call something a minor funding increase, I mean something that's $1 million or less. So below our amendment threshold, but something changed since you last saw these projects in the spring. And when it says roll to the current year, all that means is whatever was budgeted or programmed in 25, roll to the next year in 26 with no changes. So I'll dive into those 11 transit projects. This section shows a number of HART's formula programs that again they receive from the Federal Transit Administration. They receive an allocation annually of 5307, which is largely used for operating and capital expenses, and also they receive 5339 to purchase buses or any kind of capital infrastructure for the bus stops or anything else HART may need. You'll notice that those are pretty high dollar amounts, 125 million for 5307, 15 million for 5339. And these are an overestimation that DOT puts in their work program to ensure that HART has the flexibility to draw down on multiple years funding. So I just wanted to call out up front that those dollar amounts are an overestimate, but it's there for a reason. Now getting to more project-specific details, there is a $1 million grant that HART won for its resiliency of its heavy maintenance facility. That project was to update the roof coating on the heavy maintenance facility, and I'm pleased to report that that work was completed last year. And when I was talking with the project manager, he said emphatically that this was likely the reason that the roof stayed on during the hurricanes last year. So a very worthy investment, and this project will be closed out shortly. HART's also done a great job in getting discretionary funds for its bus and bus facilities. So there's another $10 million over 5 years to do some work there. They also received a human trafficking innovations and transit public safety grant. This was a public awareness campaign back in 2021 when the Super Bowl was in Tampa. And like the roof coating project, this project is done and closed out and will shortly be removed from the template. Another project that might catch your eye is the passenger ferry grant. You may recall a few years ago, HART won a discretionary grant to purchase a new vessel. Since then, it's no longer a priority for Hillsborough County, but our friends just across the bay, PSTA, are taking over that grant, and FTA recently approved that transfer. So those funds will be used by PSTA to purchase the vessel in the near future. HART also receives some 5310 paratransit funding from the feds. And this grant is used to help procure yellow cab service for whenever a HART Plus bus can't complete that trip. So this is a really important service that exists in our community for those who may be disadvantaged and need an alternate way to make those important trips to the doctor's office or grocery store. If they can't do it in a day in advance, they can use yellow cab partially through this grant to complete that trip. Another project is an emergency relief grant that HART was awarded for its work in response to Hurricane Ian in 2022. So though that money will be used to reimburse HART for those operating costs incurred while working overtime, ensuring people are evacuated during Hurricane Ian. And then lastly is the heavy maintenance facility. Earlier this year, HART won a build grant for $23 million to complete phase 1. So it's currently in the procurement phase of the new service facility. And some of the components within phase 1 will to have different fueling stations, such as CNG unleaded, diesel fueling, as well as some other amenities such as the bus wash and a fare box probing and cash retrieval. So phase 1 is well underway and phase 2 remains unfunded for the heavy maintenance facility. Now I'll transition to the resurfacing projects. There are a few of these that have rolled forward. Resurfacings throughout all parts of the county, US 41 and the East Tampa area, MLK from Gallagher to Oak Brook and Dover, and then Washington Street from 50th Street to Washington, which is between the Selman Expressway and the Bypass Canal. And then finally, a resurfacing of Hillsborough Avenue is programmed for PE from Lagoon Street to Benjamin Road. There's also another resurfacing of State Route 60 in the eastern part of Brandon. And the project I'll take a little more time to talk about will be the resurfacing and drainage improvements that are planned for construction along Tampa Street in Florida in the Tampa Heights downtown area. So there's been a great partnership between DOT, the City of Tampa, and HART. They went after a discretionary grant a few years ago to do some improvements along Florida Tampa. So what you'll see here is the project will be resurfacing the areas highlighted on the map, as well as repairing some of the damaged drainage infrastructure, relocate the curb lines, and then improve connectivity at these different spots on the map. So each spot of the map, it makes it a little bit more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. You can see the different typical sections. Each of them include either a bike facility and a sidewalk, because we know this is a heavily traveled corridor and will eventually be part of the downtown to USF bus rapid transit. So kind of laying those first steps for that project comes online in the future. Here's a similar schematic of Tampa and Florida, very similar improvements, just working your way south to downtown. You can see on the typical sections, there's gonna be wider sidewalks, bike lanes, some on-street parking, as well as upgrading the drainage infrastructure that was mentioned in the previous project, and then resurfacing the roadway. And both of those projects are planned to start construction in 2026. Now I'll transition to the capacity or widening projects. The first is I-275 from Howard to Hillsborough River. This is the part of TDNX that's from West Shore to downtown. This project is just being rolled to the current year. There's no change in its programming. Its right of way is not programmed, as well as construction is not. So this project is just rolling forward, and the current estimate for construction to complete is $465 million. The second capacity project is on State Route 60 from Valrico to Dover. There's $14 million for right-of-way program in 26, and that project includes the scope of widening from 4th to 6th lanes, adding a buffered bike lane, and then filling in any of those sidewalk gaps where they exist. And the last two capacity projects are the Suncoast Parkway extension to extend the northbound on-ramp acceleration lane from Van Dyke Road. That project will be starting construction here in 2026. And then finally is the I-4 eastbound auxiliary lane that is going to be built as part of the downtown interchange. So there is $19 million, most of that for construction in 26, which will add that one auxiliary lane, construct the retaining walls, as well as some new. So this is just a map of the overall DTI project, and the auxiliary lane will be from about here to where the signals are, just east of 26. And that work should begin sometime next summer. Transitioning to safety projects, there are a variety of railroad crossings, mostly in the eastern part of the county and in Plant City, to ensure that any at-grade crossings are safe, whether that includes flashing lights, gates, signs. So these three projects are in the work program to address those safety upgrades. Then looking at the non-rail safety projects, there's an ongoing project along Fowler from Nebraska to 50th Street. 15 million for construction and a little bit of design is programmed to widen the sidewalks, improve different intersections, and add mid-block crossings along Fowler. Additionally, DOT is filling in a sidewalk or repairing a sidewalk at Florida and Hannah Avenue in 2026. And the last safety project I'll call your attention is these Bush Boulevard corridor improvements. And you may recall that we called this project out during the update of the Transportation Improvement Program last summer because it has been a longstanding priority of the TPO addressing those safety concerns. So as part of that, FDOT has been a great partner and has a project along the corridor to do a variety of improvements. I just took one of the cross sections or one of the drawings to just illustrate a few things. There will be a new pedestrian mid-block crosswalk at Bush and Oakleaf, some raised medians, a new traffic signal. And then also important, they are reducing the speed limit, posted speed limit to 35 miles per hour. Okay, so the next set of projects are for planning studies that are going on. One is transit-oriented development grant that Heart won. They actually won 2 grants. The first one has finished, but the second one is going to be working on refining area station planning in the Sulphur Springs area. So there's a great partnership between Heart, City of Tampa, and Planned Hillsborough to do some planning in that section. Also, Hillsborough County won a discretionary grant to study 11 water crossing bridges unincorporated. So that project will continue to roll forward until the county executes that grant. And then finally, Heart won another award during COVID for route planning restoration. So that grant will be used to inform an upcoming update to the transit development. There are a few signal projects. The first is another discretionary grant that the county won to implement smart traffic network technology over 40 miles of arterial streets. I believe that one's under contract, but we're just rolling it forward to make sure that all requirements are met. There won't be any delays for planning consistency purposes. And the second project is actually already completed. You can see a picture of it here. It was for a new signal at 22nd Avenue South Expressway. I mentioned earlier that there is just a various project categories. So there's a project in there for taxiway B, concrete and joint rehab. That's included in this update, as well as some drainage and culvert improvements. So I know that was a lot, but I'm happy to answer any project-specific questions you may have on these 40 projects. But otherwise, the action before you today is to consider recommending the TPO board approve this roll forward amendment.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Can you jump back one slide? You know much about the aggregate facility?
So I don't, but I did read online that it has been a priority of the governor to like kind of set up more aggregate facilities for resurfacings and like have the material ready. If Alyssa doesn't know anything off the top of her head, I can absolutely go back with DOT and learn some more about that aggregate facility. Because you're right, that's not like a typical infrastructure improvement. This is like a facility to produce aggregate.
Yeah, just curious about, where it's located, right? Trying essentially located to feed, projects from around the area. Every time we see that, my agency immediately thinks dust and the impacts of that, but I mean, reduced transport of materials is a net positive, so that's not negative. I'm just wondering more about, like you said, we don't normally see it in the transportation world about an aggregate site, especially a more permanent one. Usually they're just temporary. So, okay. All right, any questions from the group? None? Anyone online? Oh, I guess, hearing none, we're looking for a motion to recommend the TPO approve the roll forward amendments.
John and Scott, recommendation to, approve the recommendation.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Second. Jesus.
Jesus with the second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, you're good. Quite a bit of stuff there. All right, next up is the public participation plan.
Thank you so much, sharing and narration.
There.
Good afternoon. My name is Harmony McGee. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator. So I'll be presenting the public participation plan update. You all have already received this presentation. It's just that we're coming back for it as an action item. So I'll be brief with my presentation and just kind of summarize everything. So again, what is the PPP? The PPP is our set of standards and guidelines for how we do public engagement during the transportation planning process. It is updated every 2 to 3 years and was last updated in 2022. It's important to know that everything that is outlined in here, we have to hold ourselves accountable to. So for this year's PPP changes, they include standardizing public notice times, printed media, the TBO priority list public meeting, addressing the recommendations from the measures of effectiveness report, which you all received in March of this year, and the public participation toolbox. So first, for standardizing public notice times for the LRTP adoption, LRTP amendments, the TIP, and also the TBO priority list, we have set a standard of 10 days for public notice. And the only one that didn't change would be the PPP, and that's because we're legally bound to that 5 days. For printed media, we are proposing that we revise the PPP to allow staff discretion in using printed media rather than requiring newspaper ads. And this again comes after the study that we did with the unique QR codes during the transportation program public engagement. For the TBO priority list, now that the TBO has implemented the practice of presenting the TIP and the priority list as separate items, we will no longer require that the TBO priority list be approved at a public hearing. And we've also set a 15-day review period for the TBO priority list to allow more time for community members to review the document. Now we'll move on to addressing the recommendations made by the MOE. So just as a refresher of what those recommendations were, they were to make our surveys look more ADA compliant, have address signposting for the transportation improvement program, standardizing meeting postponements, combating survey fatigue, expanding our presence on YouTube, and evaluating the committee process. So for our first MOE recommendation for ADA compliant surveys, we have identified SurveyMonkey and Survey 123 as the platforms that we have used moving forward. Previously, we were using MetroQuest, which made it difficult for the visually impaired to engage with our survey, so that's why we have transitioned to these two platforms. For the recommendation for the road signs, we have revised the PVP to allow staff discretion in using road signs. And this is similar to the printed media. We did a QR code study to track the engagement on the signs, and we found that they weren't always the most cost effective. For meeting postponements, we have set a 4 calendar day window to either cancel or postpone a meeting, and this would be at the discretion of the TPO director in consultation with the committee liaison. And this is important during seasons like hurricane season to give committee members ample time to prepare and also set an expectation of what that participation. The other MOE recommendations are addressed by the public engagement toolbox, which essentially outlines different strategies and tools that TPO staff can use. So for example, rather than using a survey, TPO staff might choose to use a focus group to address survey fatigue, or utilizing Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts to expand our online presence. And this just gives staff the flexibility to cater our public engagement to the specific needs and concerns of each study. Now I'll share the feedback that we received on other committees as well as the TPO board. So feedback on the PPP has been received in the technical advisory, intelligent transportation systems, livable roadways, bicycle pedestrian advisory, and the citizens advisory committee, as well as the transportation disadvantage coordinating board. The livable roadways, bicycle pedestrian, and citizens advisory committees, along with the transportation disadvantage coordinating board, reviewed the plan as an action item and recommended that the TPO board approve it. Regarding signage, some members recommended maintaining and enhancing its use with larger formats and short links for those who prefer not to use QR codes. Others supported giving staff flexibility to determine when roadside signs are the most effective tool, provided that clear standards are established for when and where to be used. For both printed media and signage, some members emphasized that evaluation should consider factors beyond return on investment, while others prioritize cost effectiveness across all engagement methods. When discussing alternatives to newspaper advertisements, mailing-based outreach emerged as the most popular approach, with suggestions including utility bill inserts, driver's license renewal inserts, and postcards. Additional ideas included placing materials in doctor's offices, community centers, pharmacies, and convenience stores, as well as creating an opt-in text messaging system to send alerts. Geofencing was also mentioned as an idea that can be explored, as it allows for outreach within defined areas and provides measurable engagement metrics. Questions were raised regarding whether these proposed changes would conflict with Title VI requirements. TPO staff has confirmed that they would not. The TPO board also received this as a status report. Many were in support of the overall recommendations and supported giving staff discretion to be strategic with how and when engagement methods are utilized. There were some concerns regarding recommended changes to the printed media and road signs, with board members advising staff to ensure a comprehensive approach is taken when considering how to best reach the community. So for today's recommended action, it is to recommend the TPO board approve the public participation plan updates. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Do you have any comments? Oh, sorry.
So Harmony, it's good to see that you now have this option for, I guess, the project manager to go ahead and say whether or not they want to use signs. I would hope on your end then that you would be asking the project manager what was their determination of why they did or didn't use signs? and then see if when this is updated again, if that then means that you need a baseline to put when staff should use signs. Because now if it's up to the project manager, yet after a year or two, everybody is coming to the same conclusion of when they should and shouldn't use signs, you by de facto have a policy, you just don't actually have it written down. But the public doesn't know that. So it might be worthwhile to at least tell yourself that we're going to reflect on whether or not the signs and how the project managers use that new policy, I guess, is the way, if that makes sense.
Yes, that is something that we've been discussing, and I believe someone at ITS had a similar comment. So I do think eventually we'll have kind of a standard, and once we have that next PPP update, we'll put it in.
Thank you.
Thank
you. The timeline slide, can you go back to that where the public notice deadlines? It was like a chart.
It was the second slide, second or third
Or a
slide.
table,
Right
sorry,
at the beginning.
or the table.
There's a lag.
Yeah. Funny.
Possibly, yeah.
That's right, when she moved on, I say, we did that same minute.
And which one did you say we cannot change because it's in statute? Was that the UPWP or
No, the PP,
the PPP?
yeah, it's like the 45 days.
So the first one, I guess the 45 is required, the other ones were probably.
I see. So it's put on the website by the minimum review period, but then the public notice would be different and that's not required. I see. Okay. Was there any discussion about, because we put these in the newspaper as a courtesy. Was there any discussion about not doing a newspaper ad anymore?
For the PPP or all of them?
Not for, well, not for the PPP, because I understand that one's required, but for the ones that are highlighted.
This one kind of tie into like the other slide about discretion. So
Okay.
kind of, since this PPP is saying that it's up to staff discretion now.
So these deadlines are up to staff too?
Well, no, there's still a requirement, just the notice doesn't have to be a newspaper. So it could
I
be
see.
a flyer and
Okay, I see, thank you.
Comments? I know this topic's come up several times since I've been on here. It's always kind of a difficult one because engaging with the public is difficult for what you guys do. A lot of the questions you had got answered. I think I missed the presentation last time. So, I guess the increase in social media presence seems like the newest wave of need and appears like you're kind of addressing that. But one question I got, this is kind of just off, not really relevant to this, but have they evaluated looking into the signage? It always seems a little dated to me, the whole yellow sign on the side of thing. Has there ever been like a study about buying an electronic sign that you could just reuse over and over on the side of, I mean, it would be an investment, but maybe something that they could, if it's ever been, or at least, or if not, just it would be a recommendation, maybe look into it for future. Because it would be a high investment on the front end, but if you keep using it over and over and it wasn't vandalized, it might be something that could be effective. There's something that crossed my mind when I saw a picture of the two signs there. It's kind of like that's a little old school.
yes, that is something that I just researched during this whole process. That's an idea that was brought up, so. And then in my research, we actually found that sometimes they're more cost effective than the like regular printed signs, so that might be something that we look towards in the future.
Okay, I would just, maybe recommend the agency keep an eye open because there might be grant money out there that if somebody's looking that you could parlay it into a study that then, comes back with data and in the meantime, you're getting the benefit of having the signs out there. So anyways, I realize it's kind of offbeat from what this is, but this is question. So any other comments or questions? Okay, so we are looking for, can you pull up the last slide? Looking for a motion to approve this for. So we're looking for a motion to recommend TPO board to approve the public participation update.
The MAPC motion to recommend the TPO board approve the public participation plan of.
All right, thank you. We have a second. Here with a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Harvey. Okay, last action item is the Plant City Sun Trail connection.
Okay, good afternoon, TAC. I'm Ben Gordon with TPS staff, and I'm just going to walk you through this Plant City Sun Trail Connection study. It's been underway since January this year, and now it is finally coming to a close. So I'll walk you through the background, our results and recommendations, and some immediate steps towards implementation. So just for some background, the Florida Shared Use Non-Motorized Sun Trail Network is a statewide multi-use trail system focused on connecting major cities, smaller communities, and natural attractions as well. And it's also known by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection as the Florida Greenways and Trails System Trail Priorities. So the Sun Trail program funds the planning, design, and construction of those paved multi-use trails that are part of the statewide network, and it's facilitated by both the Florida Department of Transportation and the Department of Environmental Protection. As things currently stand, there aren't any trails within Plant City that are within the Sun Trail network. The closest two are the Old Fort King Trail and the Tampa Bypass Canal Trails planted west, and then the Fort Fraser Trail from Lakeland and Polk County to the east. But there's nothing passing through Plant City planned or existing right now that's, no plans for anything eligible to apply for Sun Trail funding yet. So this study's purpose is just to identify potential alignments, potential connections to this statewide network, and just evaluate their feasibility one by one. So we're looking into different connection locations to begin with. That's very laggy, my apologies. And then we will provide potential alignments for those locations, analyze the feasibility again, and then just summarize the findings and provide what recommendations we can. Some highlights: we had our kickoff in January, and our data collection and alternatives identification, we finished those by March. In mid-March through April, we circulated a survey just to get a sense of what members of the public and throughout the area preferred most in terms of the alignments. And we had a second stakeholder meeting in May. We started drafting the final report in April through mid-August, and now we're running it by all of the committees, including you. And the final consideration for approval by the TPO board is the day after tomorrow, Wednesday. So we began with a feasibility analysis on a refined set of 6 alternatives with an evaluation matrix. Here is a map that we went through. So we have a west option 1 along Sam Allen Road, north of I-4, a west option 2, south of I-4 along US 92. And then we had a north option, mostly along State Road 39, heading north towards Zephyr Hills, and then an east option on 92 headed towards Lakeland and Polk County. We devised an evaluation matrix consisting of trail atmosphere, so that's just the surrounding area of the trail, trail buildability, implementation feasibility, certain right-of-way constraints and infrastructure, trail connections, whether connected to key destinations like schools, parks, libraries, our survey results, what public preferred most, prior planning, whether it was included in previous trail studies, and then just the environmental impacts. What would be the influences of building that trail? Is it in a flood zone, in wetlands, or in Florida impaired waters? Now, I promise I will not torture you all by reading through this cell by cell, but I'll leave it up for a couple seconds just if you want to look, and we can pull it back up later. But I'll summarize in a moment. You'll see that we rated it on several different factors, which I will get to in a moment. Another one. So just to skip ahead a little bit, these were the total average out scores that we got on all of those criteria, which I will return to. West option 1, the one along Sam Allen Road, received the highest ranking. It's 45, and then West option 2 came in second. That's the one headed west along US 92, and then the east option along 92 at 40. Okay, so just going through those matrix results by the categories. West option 1 was high on the experience factors, just what the trail felt like in terms of shade. It was medium on buildability and also midway on connections. West option 2 was low on experience factors, high on buildability, and fairly mixed on connections. North was sort of in the middle on experience. And it was high on buildability and mid to low on connections. And I'll leave that one there for a moment as well. So I will get into our specific recommendations now, recommended routes, some steps towards implementation. In terms of SunTrail applications, the primary routes that we're recommending are West option 1. So the one along Sam Allen is very rural and scenic. It's quiet, relatively speaking. There's a lot of potential for a good separated trail there. Minimal conflicts with vehicles, and it's a direct route towards that connection with the gig, with them in Sanson as well. The secondary trail connection that we were recommending will probably apply for both of them as primary, but that's still a little bit up in the air, but is the one along 92, also headed west. And there's a lot of infrastructure there already, sidewalks, bike lanes, for example, that just need to be integrated. So that is one plus. Leaves a lot of potential there. And then the east option and north option, we're not forgetting this either. The east option has very strong public support. It came out #1 in support on the survey, pretty close to west option 1. It's popular as well. It has a very suburban, rural sort of character. It's a good direct connection to the lake trails along US 92. And both west option 2 and the east option, FDOT already has road widening plans along those roadways. So there is potential for the trail expansion to be covered as part of those projects as well. We're looking into that. And then north option 1 is a very scenic sort of northern route. It goes along the state road and the canal, and it also connects well to the planned City Canal Trail, which is a north-south route that has already been studied in Plant City, a more local sort of trail. And SR 39 is also a designated US bike route, so all the better to add some more bicycle pedestrian infrastructure there. But in terms of SunTrail funding, these two are best aligned. So here's our final alignment that we came to for West option 1. It's about 15.1 miles long. It's east-west again, north by 4, shaded, scenic. It has high public support. It also connects to the Canal Connector Trail. I should have said that earlier. And it's included in the Hillsborough Trails Master Plan already. So here is what a portion of Sam Allen looks like at the moment. That was way. Sorry. Okay, so for West option 2, It is 14.2 miles long, again, east-west, south by 4. Again, we can retrofit the infrastructure there. And it has a lot of connectivity and a sort of commuter focus because you're headed towards higher density areas as you get closer and closer to Tampa there. And again, great potential to be included in road widening projects as well. Here's what it looks like now. And I have to say that I've never seen this before, but there are some segments where there are actually. I'm sorry.
Wait for it.
I likely have a problem.
Sorry, advancing one more coming back.
Yeah. See, it's sort of. Share my screen.
There we go.
Okay, finally. Two sidewalks, yeah, but our goal is hopefully to bring those together. Yeah, you can guess what it looks like. But while we wait for that, I'll just start sharing some information on the North Connection, which is 17.3 miles long, and it provides a northern connection again to Zephyrd Hills and also connects to the Canal Connector Trail. And again, it's a US bike route. And this is definitely the longest one, only by 2 miles, 17.3. This is 15. Okay, well, and okay, yeah, there's your east alignment. It seems to have finally caught up. I'm sorry to skip ahead too much, but anyway, this one is 4 miles long. It's a regional connection to Lakeland. Again, an opportunity trail already listed in the Florida Greenways and Trails system, and highest public support. Here are some cost estimates I'll run through for each option. Since West option 1 is 15.1 miles, it is estimated about 14.7 million. We're assuming about $975,000 per mile. That's based on FDOT's numbers. West option 2 came in at 13.8. North was slightly most since it's the longest at 16.9. And then east option, being by far the smallest at 4 miles, is 3.9 million. Estimate. So some immediate steps towards implementation include working it in, applying for it to be part of the Florida Greenways and Trails system priority or opportunity network, integrating it into the Hillsborough County Greenways and Trails master plan. And it also needs to be on the Hillsborough TPO list of priority projects to be eligible for some trail funding. Then there is also the investment tax locally, the FDOT road widening project coordination that we've discussed, and just continuing to coordinate with agencies to clarify their roles in the application process, in prioritization, and just support. And we'll continue also coordinating with local boards, like you all, like the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, all throughout to just keep raising awareness and support. So our immediate next steps as well are just, we've already finished finalizing the report. It's going through committee by committee for review, and TPO board votes on approval on Wednesday. And with that in mind, our recommended action for you today is just to recommend that the board approve this Plant City Sun Trail Connection study. And do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ben. Just right off the bat, this did go through the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, right?
Yes.
As one of the ones that's on. Sure, they had probably quite a few. Okay, do we have any other comments, questions?
If there are any slides that someone would like to see that were skipped over, you're welcome.
On the most, the highest ranked one, the west one, it scored high in everything, but it's like 0 in environmental. Do you know why it's scored 0? Like, so what is it affecting us?
I don't quote me on this. I assume it's probably close to a wetland area. Just based on my knowledge of the geography there, but I'm not certain. I'd have to look at it. Let me see. We probably have the matrix that we can figure that out.
I mean, the picture you showed looked like an existing sidewalk that was going to be paved, so it would probably be minimal impact, but I was just wondering, is there other sections that are currently, forested area that's gonna be weird? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm looking, we can get through this matrix in particular. I think this has the flood zone, whether it's goes through wetlands or Florida waters. And each has a sort of 0 to 5 ranking. So this column is the one along Sam Allen Road. This is the westward one along US 92. And then this is the eastward option along 92 as well.
It could even be with the environmental, since it's primarily area. So you might actually have wetlands in that area that is not already been. Impacted.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be extreme, and it looks like it would be right along an existing roadway, so you're not talking about them, clearing out a section area. Although this is focused on impaired water, so I don't think that exactly depending. But okay, I mean, I guess we just have to see what it is. And I was just wondering if you knew exactly what it was, but I got a better feel for it now.
I could go back to the alignment if you'd like to see that as well.
Which one?
Oh, the map, the trail alignment.
Well, this is the one that goes along Sam Allen, right?
That's right, yeah, west option.
Okay, and so the study is just, this is basically a study where you rank them, and these are kind of the recommendations for consideration.
Yeah, these are the different evaluation criteria up here, and the 3 sort of alignments that we recommended, 4, I'm sorry, 1, 2. Yeah, west option 1, west option 2, the north option, and east option.
I mean, it certainly seems like you've taken a lot of aspects into consideration. I guess, the decision makers would be, the Sam Allen one probably, in my opinion, would be a little more rural compared to the one coming right down 92. But then again, the 92 might be more advantageous for people using the trail more for D rather than just recreation. So it would depend on, I guess, what was in the favor over the next.
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, I would probably say Sam Allen, when most people using it for biking or using it for recreation, they probably want the less congested areas. Although Sam Allen's getting really congested too, as more buildings happening out there. But anyway, that's beyond the opinion of the group, but the main thing is I believe it appears to have taken into consideration a lot of the important aspects. So that's what we would be hoping to see. So anybody else have any comments? Question?
Is the assumption that all this can all be done within the existing right of way, is that the idea without drainage impacts or impacts?
Look at, it looks like there are certain right of way constraints on some of the options, north option in particular. I don't know exactly, what went into this particular.
Well, it didn't look like you had to right away in the cost estimate, that's why I asked that. You show construction, and I think about design and CPI, what have you.
Yeah, it let they all average about $1 million per mile. And if you have right of way issues, it knock that up pretty quickly.
You have unknown.
There's the criteria for it. It's the trail, the validity. I see right of way constraints.
Yeah,
It's in the first page. I see that.
yes, yeah, the constraints here.
Well, and perhaps to Mike's point with that, as I know Mama's bringing that up, is that the issue of what happens to Sam Allen if it gets enhanced? Do you have the right of way to enhance Sam Allen as well as put trail into it?
And not having right of way will add the cost to the project, which will add to the final estimation of the trail cost.
Good.
Good, yeah,
Or it would.
yeah.
If it got expanded, it would probably be included as part of the project cost for the expansion, but if it was built and then expanded.
Yeah, they were start to build.
But yeah,
plans for that? Are there future plans for that?
I don't know, but I can just tell you our office gets applications for all kind of building happening out there, so. That's not an area I know as well with other parts of the county, but I hear that road come up so much that I think that would be a targeted expansion road in the future.
So on the east side where, the city of Plant City is annexing and actually building subdivisions, yes. There's improvements that happen to those areas when the developers come in and they have to put turning lanes into their subdivision. Other types of things, but on the west side, no, it's a rural area. So it's a rural cross section, but the county has instructed planning commission staff to look at that area as well as some areas down Manatee South for future expansion areas. So that could possibly be an area, really all of this area, basically from State Road 60 going up to the lake, Anasasa, where all of that area would be studied for possible expansion. Future, right, decades out. Still. Might as well plan for it instead of having to come back and retro all of it. So it's glad to see that all of this is happening, that you've got a couple of different options that work out well. So that when one of those roads are improved, then you have the ability to possibly leverage something.
Great, good comments, good comments. All right, anybody else? Okay, so this is a motion item. You're looking for a motion to recommend the TPO board approve the Plant City Sun Trail connection study. Go ahead. Can I get a motion?
Recommend, Jonathan Scott recommend to approve the connection study.
Okay, do we have a motion? Can I get a second?
Jay Collins, second.
Thank you, Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, last scheduled item is the. It's really, not a strike, I made that mistake.
Yeah.
Says 2050 multimodal unfunded needs.
No, I see that. I saw that one. There we go. Oh, that was a little bit quicker. Let's see. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Kent. I'm with FDOT and I'm the District 7 SIS or SIS coordinator. I saw you looking at that a little while ago. Either one. What I'm here to do is kind of give you an overview of what the Strategic Intermodal System Multimodal Unfunded Needs Plan is about. It's in coordination with the MPOs and the TPOs. Hit the right button. Oh, it goes quick on my screen. I forget about that. So the goals of the SIS are to identify transportation improvements that are needed for the SIS facilities. All of these improvements are unconstrained by cost and are not yet included in the SIS work program, the second 5 years, or the cost feasible plan. The plan ensures that Florida's long-term transportation priorities are recognized. It's important to keep in mind that although a project may be identified as a need by the SIS program, it is not guaranteed to receive funding or to even move up into other projects. Just a quick note, normally we update the cost feasible plan. Well, we update the unfunded needs plan, then the cost feasible plan. This time we kind of did them backwards because we started this plan in 2000 or 2020. I'll get it right in a second. In 2020, we started this process, of course, because of COVID, everything shut down when it came back up online because everything had lagged so far behind that they decided to do the cost feasible. And then now we're kind of kept playing catch up with the unfunded needs. But normally we work very closely with the TPOs and MPOs on their LRTPs. So this again is a little backwards. We are still working with you, but the LRTP has already been done. The update process takes about 18 months from kickoff to adoption. We kicked off the plan in December of 2024. We're kind of in month 9 now, and usually is where we're already meeting with the TPOs. Again, we had some issues with the system, so we got a little bit behind.
So we are bringing a draft plan to you at this time. Some of the things that we look at is traffic modeling. We also look at, different plans around the county. We also coordinate, with the regional transportation authorities, local governments, and modal transportation partners. We also coordinate back with our central offices program via monthly teleconferences. The project needs that we look at are from the MPO and TPO and regional plans, traffic modeling, level of service analysis, modal master plans for aviation, freight, rail, seaports, spaceports, and transit. And then we also do GIS and data visualization help with map locations and priorities. Just looking to make sure I'm on the right slide of there. The different plan components are individual district maps and tables that list costs and locations of unfunded projects, regional profiles, economic and demographic overviews for each region, and then an executive summary, which is a high-level overview of the identified needs by district and mode. The final review and adoption we'll conduct a review of the draft plan with the MPOs, the district, and the CIS staff. After the senior management approval, the final draft is presented to the FDOT, I'm sorry, I can't talk. Executive Board for adoption. Once adopted, the plan serves as a guiding document for future funding considerations. Some of the key takeaways is that it is essential for shaping Florida's long-term transportation strategy. We also make sure MPOs and TPOs and their regional priorities also align with CIS needs. The next steps involve ongoing coordination, updates, and preparation for the next planning cycle. You should have a copy of the draft that with you. Just know that this is just all the highway projects. The multimodal side of that has not been completed yet. They're still updating. We're hoping to actually have that by the end of next week. So everything will be there, but this is just the highway portion. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, it's quite a bit to look at here. So could you kind of briefly explain when it says short, mid, long on the last one?
Yes, the short is usually it's something that's needed by 2030. We actually have projects in there that were listed as needed in 2025. Well, we're already in 2026, so we know that's not going to happen. So we just put short on there. Mid goes to 2040, long will go out to 2050 and beyond. And again, we also know that some of these may never happen. It's a need. It does show a need, but there may be constraints and things that we can't do to make it happen.
It's the idea that the short would be prioritized because they're a need sooner. I mean, it's that really. Once you get to that part, I know you're not.
Yeah, we don't, that's just, we don't prioritize in this. It's not until what'll happen is we'll start moving it up to the cost feasible to see if it is cost feasible, if it's feasible to do it. Then we'll start looking and that prioritizes. From there, as we start moving it, it'll go into a 10-year plan. So it's 10 years out and then it goes into the first 5. So it's just one of those that we're kind of trying to get the idea of where we can start looking, what we start moving forward. You know, it's kind of, for lack of a better word, it's kind of what they call wish list. In other words, if everything, we could do everything that needed to be done, this is it. So, or this also may include projects that are in the cost feasible that maybe we only have design or we only have right of way. This would have the construction for it. It's just so that project doesn't get lost and if things move in and out.
How does it move into the cost feasible plan from here?
When we go to update the cost feasible, they, there are projections, they use the word for it, but it's the funding projections that they look at, and then we kind of try to balance that, and then if we can move a project, it's kind of like, okay, where does it sit with the TPO or, you know, and we can hopefully maybe move that if it's found feasible.
Okay, understood, thank you.
Jesus,
Thanks for that presentation. Quick question, is this mostly highway projects or is there also like bike bed, safety, transit?
No, this is just the highway, what you have in front of you is just the highway projects. Then we have the multimodal side, which is the airports, seaports, rail, those will be additional in there. The bike pads, we don't usually have that. That's kind of like he was talking about the Sun Trail, like if we do 92, we would possibly include the bike pad. We don't pull the separate projects out.
Right. Thank you.
You know.
any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I guess that concludes it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that was the last scheduled item. Is there any old or new business? Okay.
At the last TPO board meeting last week at their special meeting, the TPO board is considering some bylaw changes, two of which will impact the TAC. Our friends at T-BARDA that used to exist, they are formally going to be removed since T-BARDA is no longer an agency. But we will be adding a representative from Hillsborough County Children's Services. I think the rationale behind that is to be in alignment with some of the new directive coming out of USDOT for considering families and the transportation planning process, as well as building another pathway to get youth engaged in transportation planning. So expect a new member from Hillsborough County Children's Services to join the TAC in a few months. And then the other item I had is, you may have seen the email from Cheryl Wilkening, but in our December meeting, which historically have been joined with the CAC, we are separating out. So it's updated on your calendar. So I just wanted to call to your attention that we will be meeting just as the TAC the first Monday of December at our normal time.
Very good. Not here. It makes sense to start at the beginning of the year, man.
Think formally about that, the meeting or it's not here.
So with bylaws, it has to go 2 times before the board, so it passed the first. Yeah, so the second time, I think will be Wednesdays, and it'll probably be another month until somebody's appointed, so it takes some time, right?
Elizabeth, in general, any other new members or other committees that are institutionalized like that, like the Children's Board again? It's institutionalized in Hillsborough County government, anything else like that?
At this time, no, none for any other.
I suspect we were targeted, in my experience, which is limited. I think this is the most diverse committee there is, with representatives from ART, the airport, and then health, and just so many different people, environmental, which is one of the greatest things I think about this committee in particular. So I welcome them to come along. I mean, I was kind of wondering the angle, but I really like the idea that they could maybe be a liaison to teach the youth about planning and transportation and need to look out as maybe a career choice. So in that regard, I certainly embrace it. But I did not hear about it, so I appreciate you informing me.
And they have a funding stream, of course, as well, which will be interesting to see about what we do here to see if any of our work can rub off on their work. That's per se.
Very good. All right, any other items to discuss? New items, old items? I guess we'll see you in a month. And thank you very much.
It's almost where I was. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.